video number 2. I'd like to start off with reviewing why I decided to design and develop this artifact. And my goal was to have interactive educational content and lessons for learners. I think that learners absorb information better and deepen their learning processes when it's an interactive type of content. I think this artifact is innovative because it's hands-on, student-paced learning. All students learn, read, interact with content on their own pace. So this way they're not too stressed to keep up or worried if they're lagging behind, etc. It's all on their own time. I believe the last time that I did this video, I ended on the figurative language terms and definitions unit. And since then, I have added in 2 more units, and I'm still working on a third that's not completed yet. But I've moved on from the definitions to add practice sections. And since there were so many figurative language terms, I split them up into 2 different sections. So I wanted to make it easy for students to either have access to the definitions of ones we're studying in the unit, or they can go back and look at a previous section. I was able to add in some audio to read this to the students. And then I really enjoyed this because if a student can't remember the term or wants to refresh themselves, for example, if they want to know what hyperbole is, they can click the tab and learn what it is. Now, I did actually have some trouble with this. I don't really know what the deal was, but one of my challenges was getting this to format. For example, I was typing in when I was editing in all the correct sections. However, the terms and the definition was all on one card. So for instance, this front card, and when I flipped it over, it was blank. I don't know what the problem was with that, but when I came back a few days later, everything was as it should be, as you see now. So it worked out. So while students go through this, there's different types of interactive lessons, and I want to try to do some different ones, although it is a little limited with my options on this system. So students here, this activity is they're reading an example and they're deciding if it's a simile or a metaphor. Her eyes were like diamonds. That's a simile, but I'll put it in metaphor to show what happens. It'll double shake and come back for students to put it in correctly. The next section is just a multiple choice. There's a question, is this alliteration or hyperbole? And they have the example, and they choose the answer. Hit submit. Correct. Same for these as well. And once you go through here, you finally get to the end and you go to the next section, which are similar types of questions and practice based on the other figurative language terms and definitions. Now, I've also added them here, but I've also included a link if students would like to go to the previous lesson where they had all of their figurative language terms and definitions to review. They can choose what they'd like. And here is a matching type lesson. Students are going to match each example with the figurative language term it is. So for example, don't be such a Scrooge. Now these are typically mixed up every time you're on here. These are scattered. They just happen to be in correct order this time. But once you hit submit, it'll tell you if you were correct. Here students will type in an answer. And I do have it set. It doesn't have to be capitalized, undercase, as long as they type in the correct term. So for example, she was a regular Einstein. I'm going to type in incorrectly imagery. It's incorrect. The correct answer is illusion. And I have a few more of those. And then there is another section that I'll be working on next, which will be the assessment, which is why I don't have the next section buttons in here yet, because it is not fully formed. That will be my next steps. I'm debating on either doing an actual lesson or a quiz. So for example, with this system, you can actually have an assessment or put it in as a lesson. And I'm trying to decide which I would prefer to do. As assessment, it's a little different. It's not set up like the lessons. You just add in your typical questions and it's multiple choice. I believe in some instances you can add in pictures, but I would like to find a way to utilize Powtoon to create some questions and do it in a more interactive, student-friendly way so it's not as cut and dry. Thank you so much for watching this. I am excited and ready to be near the end of this journey, and I can't wait to share what my final project will look like. Thanks, and have a great day.